Well, we're going to start over again. Like I showed you in the title over on the end of that last video. After I left here, I went back into the house and I called up Sean down at High Flow Systems and told him that, I had the wrong pump. It had a, the barb on the end of it, and the other one's much shorter. He says, "Oh, that should be a 390." So he sent me a 390, which I'll show you down here comparison with the new one, but I had it in 3 days. Probably it would have been 2 days, but somewhere along Christmas season, the mail's getting a little heavier, but it came priority mail, and I called later in the day, so he probably didn't get it out that day. So customer service, if Yamaha had customer service like that, they would probably still be bringing T-Maxes into the U.S. But let me reset up down on the pump, and we'll get on with putting this thing together again. And I'll zoom in a little bit here. You can see these two pumps. The silver one is the new one. And you can see they're samey on the ends. So, and the same size on the outlets. That was the problem with the other one that had that barb fitting. So let me go ahead and back out here. Yeah, I'll go there. And we'll get the parts we need out. Put the O-ring back on. Put the old pump away. And then get this little guy back out. And it slides in. Make sure you got the O-ring on it. With this lens on this camera, I really can't get in too close and have anything you can see. So O-rings in. Yeah, you can tell it's fitting up in there. You can jam the O-ring in, and the blue goes to the wider contact, and the black, which is negative, I believe. Yeah, negative is the narrow one. Goes on here. Yeah, a little tweaking on it. You got to be careful. These guys, there's not much metal in there. It's on tight. Okay. Something to be careful of. And still keep an eye out that you don't mess this guy up. I don't know how tough they are. Okay. We got our little star washer here. And back again. The way this thing comes apart, and this is held on by the bottom, you can go ahead and snap the pump back in place. And then this goes on the bottom and is held in place with that little washer screw, which I will try to put in now. Let me do this off camera so I'm not wasting time. I'll just put this little guy back on top of this pin here. Got it back on. You can just use the tip of the screwdriver, push it down around, and then it's on firmly. So there, that didn't take long. Okay, let me go ahead and figure out what I got to do for torque on these bolts up here. And the gasket's kind of different. It's got these little projectors that hold it in place. And then there's gaps, and then it's got a ridge up here. I don't know if you can see that or not. The flat part doesn't even touch it. It's just a little skinny part that goes up on top and gets compressed down. It must roll back over because there's little standoffs here that would most likely come down on the tank, but they're a good, when you push the gasket up against the studs, they're a good, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, compression there. So it looks like, yeah, the gasket goes up and rolls over for a tight gasket. So let's go put this in. Okay, I got our rag here, and I've cleaned off around the edge. We've got our cardboard, so now we get to make sure you remember to pull the clamp off on the level indicator. So I can remember how, yeah, you gotta flip it around a little bit to get that guy down in. There. Okay. You want to be really careful that you're not tweaking the level, float level. That's all you need, is not being able to know how much gas you don't have. I'll go ahead and thread these in a little bit. Interesting, they don't have any kind of like rubber gasket on the bolts, and the holes go all the way through the tank. Well, maybe not. I should have probed them. Maybe. Yeah, the gasket sets a good, well, the gasket's down flush, but the little standoffs on the plate here are about 1/8 to 3/16 high. So I guess I'll just go ahead and start walking this thing down and around to get it to flush. Yeah, you can hear it there. You can see it moving down. I'm just limp wresting him down to where those shoulders are all touching all the way around. And it says in the manual 4 Newton meters. So and we'll do alternates here, which isn't much. Okay, that's it. Well, I guess while you've got the scoot torn apart like this, it's a good idea. I had a bunch of debris and stuff down in here I had to clean out and vacuum up. And then you can see the wires going into the alternator. I believe that's what that is, yeah. And then you want to make certain that this down here is clean. You can see it kind of shiny. That's the polished sleeve that the chain arm swings on. And so it's a good idea to take a look to see if you got any weepage or anything down there and try to get it as clean as possible. And it's not weeping and it's clean, but when I'm saying clean, you want to get the dust away from it, because dust gets under the lips and it'll lift them and it'll oil come out and you start getting more and more grit, and it puts more and more dirt underneath of it and you get more oil out. So let's go and put the pan back in. One of the things you want to check when you put it back in, that this thing here, this part slides, and that if it's not slid out and it can get up onto the wrong thing, it can probably give you fits putting it back together again. So make certain that this lip right in here is back on top of this lip, Well, I've got it back down again. You got the you got to feed this the fuel hose and the electrical cable to the pump and the level sender, and then down here the little overflow for when you if the tank overflows. I have to put that back in. I found I also had to put in the latching mechanism with a couple bolts just to hold it up out of the way. It was giving me a real pain in the butt here, so. Where's the other one at? Down here. I'm gonna make sure that's down to where it's supposed to be and it's not wiggling around. Of course, these bolts hold it in relation this way, and then hopefully everything else is in relation the same way too. So the other thing we need to do too is we pulled out the screw on this thing that holds the check valve. Actually, not a check valve. Well, it is a check valve. It's the anti-rollover valve. It needs to get put back in. And its tube also runs in a little tray here, and the latching mechanism comes underneath of it. And so you gotta put the little hose back in and then get that guy back up. There we go. Oh, so that's on, and then we got a bolt down here. That bolt down in here didn't really need to come out. That holds the tank down, and then I got to go find out which one was it. It was a little different. Yeah, here they are. These two here, as I were talking about the 8s or the Bs, those hold the back end of the tank down, and they really didn't need to come out, but everything looks the same. So let me get my socket out, put that in. I'm going to go ahead and start putting the bolts all around, and then we'll come back and torque later.